All right, just a quick owner review of the Defense DD5 V1. It's a 16-inch barreled 308. This one happens to be wearing a Leupold Mk6 3 to 18 power on a Kinetic Development Group side lock mount. I have offset to the side these Magpul, I think they're the Embus Pro, 45-degree offset. And that's simply if my optic were to be damaged, I wanted something else on here. So in the past, Daniel Defense guns came with a Geisley trigger. I believe they're just a regular mil-spec trigger nowadays. So it's got a great little Geisley in it. This is the earlier key mod handguard. I believe all of them now are M-LOK or M-LOK compatible. That's got a PWS brake on the end. Daniel Defense ships it with, I think they call it their SSD brake, but I found that it really doesn't function well as a muzzle brake. Now, a few things on this rifle here is that, first off, the charging handle is really difficult to pull. And that's part of this ball detent thing and a seriously strong buffer spring. This has been a point of problem for me in the past, where they had to send me a new charging handle, and then a little while later it sat in my safe. I brought it out and I couldn't even get the thing open, pogoing the rifle, doing anything. I wound up actually having to stand it up and smack this with a my dead blow hammer to get it to crack loose. At that point, though, I sent it back to Daniel Defense, and they replaced this upper receiver. And I haven't had any problems with it since, except for the fact that it seems more difficult to pull than it should be. You know, I was looking at this rifle earlier and got to thinking how much this is kind of down that MCX spear route, the way the military went. And the problems I see with making this kind of a primary rifle, and I know the other one's in 277 SIG or 6.8 by 51, where this is 7.62 by 51, but this also has a muzzle brake. You can't service targets nearly as quickly as you can with a 5.56. Follow-ups, second shots, just not nearly as quick. One of the other things is that hopefully that short barrel on that 277 Fury is that this particular rifle seems to be about a 600-yard gun in wind. Once you get out beyond 600 yards with this short of a barrel, you're really going to be bucking wind and having a heck of a time. At that 1,000-yard range, I totally gave up trying to hit the paper and just took out my 300 Win Mag and was center punching. But at the same time, most of the guys with 308s are having a lot of difficulty at that 1,000. Wind being pretty stiff. Short barrels, lower velocity, and a lot of wind don't really all work together. Some of the other things on this particular rifle, since I'm digressed onto the MCX spear, which I've never actually touched, did not come with any forward sling attachment. And I think that's kind of a bummer. Rifle at the price point of this should have had a way to mount the sling. That one's from Mounting Solutions Plus, if I recall correctly. Got a short section of rail, and then the Daniel Defense key mod bipod mount on there, real slick. This is as I said, the Kinetic Development Group side lock. You just push that button in, which is right here, and you can push this down, and this entire mount rotates off the gun. And yes, it actually does return to zero. I just recently had to send this mount back to Kinetic Development Group as I was pulling it apart to Loctite it, and I pulled out too many screws in the bottom, and springs and internal bits and parts kind of went everywhere. To KDG's credit, however, I shipped that off on this last Friday, and with a holiday weekend, and I received it back 1 week later, Friday. So, including shipping both ways. That's a company that stands behind when the end user does something he shouldn't do. But in any case, the sling mounts on this rifle, since I'm bouncing all over the place, of course you have one here at the rear of the stock, and then they put one right here, and in this particular rifle roll, I guess maybe for a single point or something. I really have no idea. I would never use a single point sling on a rifle like this. But definitely Daniel Defense should stick with the Geisley triggers, and these guns are pricey. Stick with a Geisley trigger, get a better comb on the end, at least something that works. And yeah, definitely add a sling attachment point in the front. I have not had the opportunity to handle any of the other DD5 variants just yet. I am looking forward to it in the future. We'll just see how that pans out. Also, someday love to buy an MCX spear if the politicians keep their hands off our guns. Anyway, folks, just wrapping that up. As for reliability of this rifle, it has been very reliable. I did run into hiccups with some ammunition when shooting suppressed, but that is to be expected. It does not have an adjustable gas block, and if that becomes something that's more of an issue down the road, I just don't like hanging a lot of extra weight on this rifle. But if that becomes an issue for me down the road where I shoot this suppressed more often, I will look into a adjustable gas block or something of that nature. Also, if you're curious about the accuracy of this platform, this is not a sub-minute gun. I wish it were. It is just not a sub-minute gun. You can expect close to minute of angle accuracy, but sub-minute, at least with me behind this rifle, it doesn't do it. Anyway, folks, it's a great rifle. It's a very expensive rifle, but at least you can get one of these, unlike the MCX spear. So anyway, it's my only Daniel Defense factory built rifle, and I would love to purchase some more of them. They are very, very well built. And the Leupold Mk6 3-18 seems a very good pairing. The only other thing I would add onto this optic would be illumination. But that comes at a whole other price level. Anyway, folks, I'll guess I'll do this again sometime.